Holiness is wholeness. To be holy is to be whole. It means to be an integrated human being who knows their gifts, who knows their passions, who knows God's love and mercy, so that when you're authentically human, you're holy. This goes back to St. Irenaeus in the 2nd century. He said, the glory of God is man fully alive. Right? Not like just doing his duty, but fully alive, dynamic, on fire. That's holiness and that's wholeness. For young people discerning their vocation today, we have to come to terms with that we are, again, as Augustine said, that we're restless till we rest in him, that we thirst for something the world can't fill. And the sooner we come to terms with this deep ache in us, and that only God can fill it, the happier we're going to be. Are you authentic? Are you honest before God? Have you come to terms with this thirst? Because we can certainly fill it up. And if we keep filling up with busyness, with, well, I have to have it all together, I have to have a plan, I have to be successful, you're not going to really find God. He wants you to sit in the ache for a while. If you open up to it, guaranteed he's going to carve out this beautiful space that he will fill. Every human heart should first be emptied of our own plans and ideas so that the Lord can fill. And I have to say to anybody who's discerning their vocation, give yourself long walks. Give yourself, as John Paul II would say, prolonged periods of silence. And the world just wants to fill it. It wants to distract us. I found myself as a young man and growing up in South Jersey, taking hikes in the blueberry fields and the cranberry bogs. And that is where I really found God's voice. There was a lot of healing that happened in those quiet walks and in that prayer. And just also the sense of who I'm supposed to be. And John Paul, again, my spiritual father in many ways, he says that the most generous choices flow from prolonged periods of silence. And you got to just lay it out there. These are both goods. I heard a great word of discernment from a priest once. He said, you shouldn't say, like, am I called to priesthood or am I called to marriage? Really, they're both spousal relationships. So it's really, what marriage am I called to? Am I called to the marriage of priesthood and the church, the bridegroom and the bride, or am I called to the earthly sign of husband and wife and family? You know, in my discernment, which I think the Latin root there means learning, like you're trying to learn, I entered the seminary in my early 20s. And clearly I didn't follow through to ordination. God called me out to marriage vocation. And, people could look back and say, well, geez, 4.5 years in the seminary. I got my bachelor's in philosophy there. Wow, what a waste, because that wasn't your vocation. I never felt that. I felt it was all discernment. And going to the seminary as a young man or going to the novitiate as a young woman, discerning religious life, it's a win-win because it's discernment. You've opened up your heart, you've asked this deep question, and you go taste and see. So I literally still to this day, and this is, coming on 20 years later, I pull from those holy hours. I pull from those experiences of night prayer with 200 guys singing the Salve Regina in the chapel of the seminary. That was a well of prayer, a time of retreat in a way, and peace that wasn't in vain. I mean, it helped form my heart and, again, prepare me for fatherhood. Every man is called to fatherhood. Every woman is called to motherhood. It may be in the earthly realm as a family. It might be in the spiritual realm as a priest or religious, but we're all called to it. So not a waste, all good. And again, still feeding my prayer today, feeding my fatherhood today. So I would just say to anybody, if you're feeling the pull, follow God. I mean, follow him. Jesus says, the foxes have their lairs, the birds have their nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. He's on the move. And we're so tempted to think like, oh, I've got to know. I would say you got to know Jesus. You don't have to know exactly the date of whatever you think you're supposed to be. Just let the Lord lead you. And it might be this kind of long and crazy turning path. Nothing's in vain. God will use everything and anything to teach your heart.